views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Let me be your lighthouse so I can show you the way. Let me be your shining light, I'll keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try when...
Hello, Northeast Indiana. Are you excited today to make a stand and march for life? Each and every year is an honor for me to come here today and be surrounded by so many of our region's greatest pro-life champions, like the one and only Kathy Humbarger. Isn't she great? As I said on the House floor this week, none of the progress that we've made over the last 47 years would be possible without the steadfast support of organizations like Allen County Right to Life and pro-life champions like Kathy Humbarger and the members of the board of Allen County Right to Life, so many of you who've made that progress possible. Let's say thank you to the leadership of this group that made today and everything else possible along the way. Thank you for all that you do. Each year we gather in this place to send a clear message. Hoosiers will never back down in defense of the fundamental right to life. The agenda of Speaker Pelosi and House Democrats has proven to be the most partisan attack on our nation's values that we have ever seen. I remain firmly committed to fighting for unborn Hoosiers past and present, and under President Trump's fearless leadership, this radical agenda continues to be no match for the cause of life. This Congress, I'm proud to do my part in co-sponsoring over 20 pro-life bills in this Congress alone, including legislation to defund Planned Parenthood, legislation to prohibit abortions after 20 weeks, and ban abortions based on Down syndrome. Additionally, I've joined over 200 of my colleagues, including my good friend Dr. Phil Rowe, who we're going to hear from in a little bit, in filing an amicus brief with the U.S. Supreme Court in support of Louisiana's law requiring physicians to have hospital admitting privileges if they are performing abortions, just like we have done for so many years here in Allen County. But arguably the most important legislative effort that Dr. Rowe and I have been a part of and have championed thus far in this Congress is the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. This should never be a controversial issue. Babies born alive after botched abortions should deserve and always receive life-saving medical care. When I got to Congress, I never thought such a thing could become a partisan issue. Dr. Rowe and I, though, have joined over 80 of our colleagues in calling for unanimous consent on the House floor to bring this legislation up for a vote and signed the discharge position to force a vote on this legislation. And although Speaker Pelosi has blocked us countless times, including turning off my microphone when I went to the floor as your representative to call for a vote on this piece of legislation, we will not stop fighting until we end infanticide. I don't have to tell all of you we have an important election on the horizon. And let me tell you, to deviate from my notes for a moment, because I think it's important to say, I am so proud to stand with President Trump, who is the most pro-life president that we have ever had, and I can't wait to see him have another 4 years to remain as president. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the honor and privilege of introducing an extraordinary ally in the fight to protect the sanctity of life. An honorable and revered member of the House who I am lucky to call a mentor and a friend, Dr. Phil Rowe. Many of you heard Dr. Rowe. He's no stranger to Northeast Indiana. He spoke to a group of Allen County Right to Life champions way back in the August recess. And it was after that that Kathy Humbarger said, can we get him to come back again and speak to us at the March for Life? And I'm so thrilled that he took us up on that invitation. Dr. Rowe is the definition of a servant leader. He selflessly put on the uniform as a Vietnam-era veteran, serving our country as a major in the Army Medical Corps. He also served as mayor of Johnson City, Tennessee. You'll have to forgive the accent in a few moments. He spent 30 years practicing as an OB-GYN and is now retiring from Congress after representing the people of East Tennessee for over a decade, where he served our nation's veterans as both chairman and ranking member of the House Veterans Affairs Committee, which I'm so proud to serve alongside him as a part of that committee. Dr. Rowe has been a tireless advocate of our nation's heroes and for the cause for life throughout his career. His leadership will be sorely missed as he moves on to the next chapter of his life. Thank you to all of you for being here today. God bless you as you continue to stand together and fight for the right to life. Now please help me give a warm Hoosier welcome to Dr. Phil Rowe.
Congressman Rowe, when most doctors are retiring to live the good life, you were just getting started. In recognition of your years of service in the U.S. House of Representatives, and also in honor of the over 5,000 babies that you delivered, we also make you an honorary member of the Life Defenders delegation. Thanks very much.
Thank you all very much. You know, when I was up here with Jim several months ago, and Kathy invited me back, I misunderstood her. I thought she said it was Fort Myers where we were having this, and I thought the weather was going to be a lot better than it is. But I cannot thank you all enough for coming out on a day like today where the weather is not the best and supporting life. And Jim, I want to say a couple of words about Jim Banks. You know, I appreciate, Jim, I can't tell you how much I appreciate being invited. Congress only has a 10% approval rating. I'm glad to get invited home even. So I told the leader the other day, I said, actually, there are 3 things that poll worse than Congress. And he said, Phil, what in the world could that be? So, well, it's Lindsay Lohan, meth labs in North Korea. And I'm not so sure about North Korea anymore. So, all kidding aside, one of the reasons that I am here, besides having the opportunity to advocate for life, is Jim Banks. You guys could not have elected a better member of Congress. I have learned so much from him, and I chaired the Veterans Affairs Committee in the last Congress. We got landmark legislation passed to help our nation's heroes who haven't always been treated so well, especially Vietnam-era guys like myself. And Jim was right there. He also stepped up And I serve on a couple of committees, education, which we also serve on together. I asked him to step up and take leadership in a technology subcommittee, something he can't come home and run on. You'll never know he did it. But it's incredibly important for our VA to get their electronic health record system right. And that's the man right there that I stepped up and asked to support it. And he said, absolutely, to serve. And I can't thank him enough. And I can't thank you enough for supporting this very, very honorable gentleman. I want to tell you a little bit about myself, and then we'll get into why I'm here. I grew up on a farm in Tennessee, and it was one hot summer day in August. I was cutting tobacco, and it convinced me organic chemistry wasn't that hard. And that's, you're in a tobacco patch, everything looks better than that does. So that's how I grew up, and went to college, medical school, and like many of you, I looked at the vintage of the crowd. I saw you coming in. Many of you are about my shape, and I volunteered for the military. I volunteered to go to the mailbox, and I got drafted like a lot of young men my age did. And I served my country and came to East Tennessee to raise a family and just practice medicine. And the group I selected were some of the greatest people I've ever met, all pro-life. Never one time, as a matter of fact, when we interviewed anybody for our practice, and it's grown dramatically. In the 31 years I practiced medicine there, we delivered over 25,000 babies. And I'll tell you the joy of what I do and the importance of what you're doing. Yesterday, I'm walking I thought anonymously through the Washington, D.C. airport. And someone said, Dr. Rowe. And I stopped and looked around. It was this young man, I didn't know him. He said, 35 years ago, you delivered me. And he said, I'm a commander in the Navy now. I have 2 children. And my family, my father, my grandfather, and I hate to bring this up, I know this is a touchy subject, got to go to the bowl game with Indiana and UT. In a crowd like this, I get where I am, I want to get out alive. But here this young man was. I thought about him on the way up here, because I'm a grandfather, and many grandparents here. It's one of the reasons I'm retiring from Congress. Usually when somebody retires from Congress, they've done a poll, and they're 20 points behind, they want to go home and be with their family. They're going to get to go home and be with their family anyway. The voters are going to send them there, but I really do want to do that. And I thought about that grandfather. He said, I don't think my grandfather's going to be able to go to another one. But it was more important for his grandfather to see his grandson be successful in life. Think about that, grandparents out there. How proud, I see a child right over here, and how proud we are of our children and grandchildren. They are our future. They're what it's all about. And I thought about that young man, if someone had made a, quotes, choice. Look, God knows us from before we have our first heartbeat. It says so in the Bible, and I believe that God knows us when we're in our mother's womb. I absolutely believe that. I am what we call in the South, a deep-water Methodist. That's different. I was baptized in the Cumberland Creek in the Woodlawn Methodist Church as opposed to being sprinkled. That's a deep-water Methodist. And I was raised basically to be respectful and to adhere life. I cannot imagine any other way. I'm going to go into some technical things in a minute about life. One of the things I think that has helped me the most in my life, explain it to patients, is the ultrasound machine. I'll share with you, and I think the good Lord will forgive me for this, but I would have, say, a young woman come to the office, and she would say, Dr. Rowe, I'm pregnant, and I'm thinking about having an abortion. Well, I would say, let's go examine you, and let's see what's going on. And I would examine this young woman, and I would know within a week or so how far pregnant. But I would say, I'm not really sure how far pregnant you are. So why don't we do an ultrasound just to be sure everything's going along okay? So we go back to the ultrasound room, and I would take a lot of time with this ultrasound to be sure that she saw the heartbeat. And then I would go back to the office, and I'd say, well, why don't you wait and think about this over the weekend, and then maybe you can call me back if you want to discuss it more. And I would forget about it. And 2 or 3 or 4 months later, I'd see this same young woman walking down the hall. Her abdomen's beginning to protrude a little bit, with a smile on her face, and she had made a decision to have her baby. I have seen that over and over and over again with young women who've made that decision. Now think about that 30 or 35 years later, that these are the productive people in our society. They're protecting us. They're our nurses, they're our doctors, they're our mechanics, they're our firemen, they're our police officers. That's who's taking care of us, and we've been aborting. And this number is just astounding to me. We're halfway through the month of January with this number right here, bigger than all but 2 cities in my congressional district of people we have lost. I want to tell you a little bit about a couple of little babies that I delivered. One, I remember I went to Walmart, and I was going to Walmart with my son and to get something. And we see this little 2-year-old, and he's knocking everything off the bottom shelf. I mean, he's got a pair of glasses on. I've had glasses since I was 10 years old, when I figured out I couldn't see anything in school. So he's knocking everything down, and I stop and I see his mother. Of course, I recognize his mother. I'm going to tell you what the baby's name. I'll say Baby Smith. Well, Baby Smith, and this was almost 30 years ago, weighed 1 pound 4 ounces. And Baby Smith got to 14 ounces in size. And all I saw that day was a happy 2-year-old knocking everything off the bottom shelf he could reach. And that young man now is a productive citizen in Northeast Tennessee with his own family. Think about that. I have seen that happen over and over. We have a colleague, Jim, in Congress, I won't mention his name either, who just had a grandchild that weighed 1 pound 5 ounces, something that these people in these abortion mills would toss over as meaningless tissue. That baby now, I said to Congressman, how much is your grandbaby? How much does Moose weigh now? He weighs 9 pounds, and he's home with his mother, and he's going to be a normal baby. When I started practice in 1977 in Johnson City, Tennessee, if you were 32 weeks gestation and you delivered your baby prematurely, half of those babies didn't make it, they died. Today, it's no different than a term birth. That's how much better we've gotten and our technology's gotten. Jim brought up something a minute ago. We have a saying in Northeast Tennessee, it matters who governs. Well, let me tell you, it does matter who governs, because we're in a cultural war right now. And I know my first term in Congress, I was down the House floor with Chris Smith, who's from New Jersey. And I talked to Chris on the phone yesterday. He said, for over 30 years, that man has been a tireless advocate for life in Washington, D.C. I feel like he felt like he was swimming against the current. He asked me to come and speak us in 2009. I was a very old freshman, but I was a freshman. So I gave down the House floor and spoke. And these folks came by my office and said, you did a really nice job. Could you speak to our group tomorrow? And I'm thinking it's going to be 50 or so people, at the Capitol steps. I said, oh, sure, I'll be glad to be there. So I walked out the next day, there's 200,000 people there to write the Life March, which you guys are going to go, as a boy, fooled me once, but not again. I was stage struck, and I looked at it, and people as far as I could see. It doesn't matter. I cannot thank you guys enough how much your support means to us when we're fighting the likes of the Pelosi's and so forth. Let me tell you how bad it is. How absolutely bad. What Jim just said, a discharge petition is where the speaker won't bring something up. And all this bill says is that if you botch an abortion and a baby, that is a baby, is born alive, that you give it care that you would do, that I would do to anybody. We would stop at a roadside, anywhere, if you had a wreck, whatever. That seemed to me so obvious that I couldn't understand why anybody. She will not bring it up. All 200 Republicans have signed that discharge petition. 3 Democrats have signed that discharge petition. And I applaud them for doing that, to go against the wind that they're going against. But think about that. That's 232 people. Do not listen to what these people say. Watch what they do. Because you can sign that. You said, I am for life. And these people say, oh, I'm for life, I'm for this. When you don't sign that, and I stood, and I think Jim was there also, shoulder to shoulder with 3 women at a press conference, and I've met one of them who spoke in my district a year ago, who survived a 3rd trimester abortion. Let me tell you, you want something moving? Stand next to someone who has survived an abortion that someone tried to kill them. And I don't know how they've dealt with it, with all of the I'm sure, the questions they've had in their life. But that was a very moving time for me to be next to these brave women. And I think we've got to keep up what you're doing. I'm so excited. And by the way, the cynic I've become, I used to be not cynical, but next week, guess what? The Right to Life March is in Washington, D.C., and guess what? Congress is not in session. So there won't be as many of us as there normally is. They usually have to limit how many of us come because so many show up. But you will show up. I applaud you for showing up, and thank you for showing up. I want to tell you something we do every week. We have a Republican Study Committee, and we have a Values Action Team on the Republican Study Committee. And each week we have Vicki Hartzler from Missouri who chairs that. I'm on the Values Action Team. We keep an eye on every piece of legislation that may have something to do with life in it. And it comes out, you guys can get a copy of it. I would encourage you to do it. I want to read to you a sentence right here and to echo what Jim said about President Trump. He reversed the Mexico City policy, which means that you no longer can use your tax dollars in a foreign country to perform abortions. Every time a Democrat comes in, and by the way, I can say anything I want to because I'm not running again, so it's not a problem for me. I don't care what I'm in the relaxed caucus, so I can say whatever, and they can say we're going to beat you, fine. You're not going to beat me, I'm not running. So anyway, I want to read this letter to you, and just a little part of it. Pro-life victory. The President stands and he sends a veto letter to Pelosi. On January 18, 2019, President Trump sent a letter to Speaker Pelosi promising to veto any legislation that weakens federal pro-life protections. The letter reads in part, I am concerned that this year that Congress may consider legislation that could substantially change federal policies and laws on abortion and allow taxpayer dollars to be used for the destruction of human life, end quotes. The letter concludes with the following. I believe it is the most basic duty of government to guard the innocent. With that in mind, I will veto any legislation that weakens current pro-life federal policies and laws or encourages the destruction of innocent human life at any stage. Thank you, President Trump. A little bird whispered in my ear yesterday via the cell phone, and I can't actually say it, but look out on the 22nd. I'm giving you guys an advance notice. On the 22nd of January, there's going to be another announcement from the administration that will be coming out from Health and Human Services that will also protect life. I've done this job now this year, this December, I will have gotten my medical degree 50 years ago. I watched basically miracles happen. My first pediatric in-hospital rotation was St. Jude's Children's Hospital. When the Lord walks on the earth again, it will be at St. Jude's. I can tell you, they are doing God's work there. 80% of those babies died when I was in school down there. 80% live today. 80%. Wow. Look at all we've done to save a child's life. I can't think of anything more scary, and I've seen it over and over in my practice where a mother would call me, what do I do? My baby is sick, to save those children. And yet what you're doing to help change a mind and life saves the same life. We have incredibly exciting things on the horizon medically, and I spoke to a physician here just a moment ago. Dr. Francis Collins is the head of the NIH. I think back to medical school with Dr. Lemuel Diggs, who was my hematology professor. Dr. Diggs spent his entire medical career, trying to cure sickle cell anemia for African Americans in this country. I have sat by the bedside of those patients and done exchange transfusions where we take the sickle blood out and put normal hemoglobin blood in, hemoglobin A blood in, so that they could survive their pregnancy and birth. With the new technology today that's going on at NIH, it looks like we can take a piece of HIV virus that can kill you, an attenuated virus it's called, hook the right code to it, send a message to your DNA, and cure sickle cell disease. That's what's on the horizon, folks. It's unbelievable. You know, we have an incredible opportunity in this country to get something right. And something is going on right in front of our nose that's extremely important, but rarely noticed. President Trump has now placed 1 out of 4 federal judges in 3 years. One more judge on the Supreme Court, and the right case gets there. I believe Roe versus Wade, and why nobody is named Roe, by the way. Why they picked my name, I mean, they could have picked some other, Smith, Jones, we pick on them all the time. Nobody's named Roe. So anyway, we get one more Supreme Court justice. I absolutely believe that's going to be remanded to the states. And let me tell you what I think about this. First of all, I think nobody should. But the 10th Amendment says in the Constitution, rights not spelled out specifically in the Constitution, you as an individual or the federal government is left to the state. I think the states are going to finally make those decisions if we get the right case, and I believe it's coming. I think we're changing hearts, and I will tell you one of the things you all are doing. I've looked outside at the displays that are out there. You're providing support for these young women who may be in a tough spot in their life. We do that at home. We can't support them enough because you're not supporting one person. You're supporting an entire family and a generation when you're doing that. And I want to thank you for that. And in closing, I want to just say a few things that you all have our backs in Washington, because when we go, when the secular world is there, I know God is there. And I know you are there supporting us, whether you're in Indiana or Tennessee. I cannot thank you enough for that. And I want to finish saying something to you all as I leave. And everyone in this room, I know everyone in here, all of us, love God. I know that all of us love our families. I see many families here. I know that all of us love life. And I know that all of us love this great country. I know that I do. It's provided me and my family so much. So thank you for who you are. Thank you for what you do. And may God rain His rich blessings on you. Thank you.